Hello there, a very good evening and welcome to another episode of Face the Nation. Our topic of discussion today is, of course, Sri Lanka's future, local government elections and beyond. Now, to discuss these matters and much more, we've got with us, of course, a panel of experts who are experts in the field of politics. So starting off, we've got on my immediate right, Prashan De Visser from the NDF. Thank you very much, Prashan, for joining us on our program. Now, on his right, we've got Mr. Neomal Perera from the Samagi Jana Balawegaya. Thank you very much, Mr. Perera, for joining us on our program. Also, we've got President's Council Maithri Gunaratne from the UNFF. Thank you very much, President's Council Gunaratne, for joining us on our program today. So, starting off with Prashan, let's jump right into it. Government has been in power for 2 months. There are those who criticize the government. There are those who say the government needs more time. There are those who say the government is doing well. Where do you stand on this spectrum?
I think it's interesting that many people say that the budget is the final defining moment to really judge this government. Are they able to deliver on some of the promises that they made? And also, but at the same time, in the last 3 months, they've given indications as to how they will govern. And we've seen some things, reducing government spending, maybe less interference, political interference with the public sector. There have been some positives, we have to acknowledge that. But at the same time, their soaring rhetoric and the promises they made and where the country is right now, there are lots of concerns that have been raised. Are they truly competent to deliver as they did? And some of those promises were way above and beyond what many said was possible to deliver. But they said they could, and now the clock is ticking. And some of these things were overnight. They said, we'll come in, certain people will be arrested, there will be justice for this immediately, we'll bring the cost of living down. They said there'll be a more humane government, they'll understand the pain of the poor person and help the person to ensure that while we have good economic policies that help the country recover, that they will also have safety nets to take care of the poorest of the poor. They have failed that. The cost of living is still very high. They haven't been able to show basic competence of a government when it comes to issues of rice shortage, salt or coconut, things like that. It's 2-3 months is plenty of time to get your act together. But then, Prashan,
since you said that the cost of living is extremely high, electricity prices were brought down. There were several amendments to the fuel prices. Now, I know that they follow the pricing formula, so there's not much credit that can really be given to the government. But at least on electricity prices and inflation for the month of January was negative. So when you say cost of living is high, what do you mean?
Yeah. So main factor is people thought, especially when you look at malnutrition in the country right now. Children under the age of 5, nearly 30,000 children are suffering with malnutrition. Many of these parents didn't fall into this thing overnight. It was during the economic crisis. It's not out their own fault. They were expecting, when they voted for this government, that they will be heard, they will be seen sooner than this. And so the government is obviously, there's a lot of conversations on providing for their MPs, providing the housing and the vehicles. Those have taken center stage, but little less emphasis on how do we help these people. Especially when it comes to nutrition, there are clear steps that they could have taken. So this is where they need to get their act together, I feel. Yes, it's 2 months, but some of these factors could have been, especially when it comes to issues of rice and so on.
But on that also, Prashan, they increased the Samurdhi, which is now Asvasuma. They increased the amounts that were paid, they increased the number of people who are eligible to receive Samurdhi. So is your problem with what's happening in the country right now the fact that they're not prioritizing this and speaking about it too much? Or because certain things are happening on the sidelines, do you want them to talk about it more? Do you want them to do something about it on the side more? What do you want?
So the difference is when you make promises and that soaring rhetoric of saying we understand your pain, we are a government that understands the common man and we will respond to your pain, and you make certain promises, then it's your duty when you're in power is not just doing the bare minimum, but how are you aggressively responding to this crisis of the cost of living or whatever these people are, especially when it comes to, for me, a key point is I spend a lot of my time working with children with malnutrition, working with families. Even last week we were there, and the statements that these people are making is that life has not got better for us. We're struggling, we're not getting the support. And a lot of these government programs, it's nice to say there have been increments, but is it getting to the people? Have they made the system efficient? Is it working? Those are the things that they said they could do overnight. They said, so yes, it's early stages, but we have to hold them accountable to live up to those soaring promises and deliver, because people have suffered for long enough.
Prashan mentioned only 30,000 children malnourished. Is it 30,000 or is it much more than that?
So 30,000 children under the age of 5 who are seriously malnourished.
Okay.
And so in the red line and the orange line, nationwide.
Wait, nationwide.
In Gampa district alone, 943 children under the red line. And
so that's enough, highly urban area.
It's one of the highest in the... So that's where we have to figure out, why isn't the support getting there sooner? Why isn't there more of a government initiative and intentionality to make it work? Because this was their core audience. They were the government of the common person. You can't now move on and saying, well, it's tough times. You know, they have to be more consistent and more efficient at this. And that's why we need to hold them accountable.
So your criticism comes from a place where, you know, you push the government, you push the kind of reforms, the kind of change that you want to see in Sri Lanka. There's a local government election coming up, and of course, you are representing a political party yourself. So is your message to the general public, these people can't do it, so elect someone else, change the mandate that you've given, change the party that you're supporting right now? Is that also part of your message, or is it just, you know, I'm pushing the government to see the kind of change that I want to see in this country?
I think it's too early to go and say they can't do it.
Okay.
Because we want to see the first budget. We want to see maybe early glitters. They've never had government before. A lot of them who are in key leadership have never had executive leadership experience before. So you can have rhetoric, you can strike, you can do all those things in the opposition. But when you're coming to govern, it's a different ballgame, right? So you have to give them the benefit of the doubt. So it's too early to say they can't, they're useless. I'm not going to put it there. But I do feel people need to start voting for people of competence and character, and not blindly voting on a wave saying whoever they put, we will vote for. Because if they do think beyond party line, because the blind party loyalty is one of the reasons where we are in Sri Lanka and the political culture we have inherited. We're not looking for the substance of the person, the ability to deliver, the ability to represent you in those places. More often than not, they don't even know who they voted for. It's just like, well, we thought this time we need to vote this way. It was a very emotional move. It's an anti-establishment move. So I'm saying, did you really consider who can represent you best, especially in the local governments? It's important that you have people of character and substance who really want to serve. And if you're just going to blindly say, I'm this color, this is my party, I'm just going to go for it, then it's at your own peril.
But then, Prashan, I've had conversations on this topic again. Isn't Sri Lanka's political system set up in a way where party always comes first? I mean, even at the parliamentary election, you get to see the symbol of the party. You get to see the name of the party written in all 3 languages. But when it comes to the candidate, it's just a number. It's just a number. So party always comes first. And at a parliamentary election, even if I wanted to vote for 2 different candidates from 2 different parties, I am not by law allowed to do that. So how do you reckon people, you know, vote for the individual when the system is geared in such a way where you have to vote for the party?
Yeah, definitely there needs to be certain amendments and changes in the way the electoral system works, especially providing an opportunity for people to select people of competence, people of character and integrity. So you're selecting person. But even when you're selecting party, sometimes they don't even know who's representing them in that party. But they've now been moved to say this is the party, so whoever the numbers are, I don't care.
That's what the system requires.
But you could also look and evaluate at these local government elections. These are people who are going to be directly representing you. And if there is an election where people can actually start thinking of personnel as opposed to party, this is it. This is the people who are going to serve you in your community. So that's an opportunity to allow new blood, new people who have areas of competence to represent you. So I say that's a good place to start.
Thank you very much, Prashan De Visser. We'll get into those points as we progress on today's program. Neomal Perera from the Samagijana Balavegya. Now, you contested the previous general election. Your leader contested the presidential election. You're now the main opposition party in parliament. What are your thoughts on where this government has gone, what they have done during the past 3 months? Are you in agreement with Prashan De Visser, or do you beg to differ?
I'm in agreement with Prashan. I mean, the whole country is in agreement, but basically the NPP, I don't think they expected to win or to come into government. Although just because Andrew Kumar Radisana president won. And the swing in Sri Lanka is just when the president is coming, winning, then his party comes blindly. People started voting for the symbol, not for the person. Although they had to appoint the person according to the votes, number of votes they got. But they originally told that they are from the list they are going to get people, all those people get appointed, remove the people who cannot deliver. But you can see they have not even delivered according to their education qualification. How many people had to distribute to the party because of the false educational qualifications they had, then they fooled the people. Basically, as far as they are going to deliver whatever, if we are going to wait, I'm sure that they can't deliver what they promised. They can maybe able to deliver little better than what the previous governments have delivered, maybe. But they were not aware, they are not aware. The Janata Mukti Peramuna is not aware, other than the people who joined because of NPP, from the SLPP, from the UNP, from other parties who joined, have been running and doing something for the present government, doing something. As far as coconut issue is concerned, last government allowed the kernels to be imported when there was a shortage. Now they have gone little beyond Chaturanga, have interfered, and then influenced the present government to import coconut milk, UHT, ultra heated UHT for re-export purpose under TEEP scheme. So this is something that you need. But I see, according to the number of chairmen who have resigned, most of the chairmen have been, I understand, they have been pushed out of the system. They are not, when they are in PP, when they cannot align themselves or talk on deliver or understand the expectations of the JVP, when they can't perform, they leave. And most of them already 5 have left. So I think there are more and more to be expected to leave. So person like Chaturanga who came from private sector, who had done a good job but that's not the end of delivering from the coconut industry. Tea, coconut, rubber, these are the main 3 export item, agricultural exports items in Sri Lanka. And now we consume 90% of coconut and 10% is exported. The last year, due to poverty, coconut is a good item that you can take to identify the purchasing power of the people. When it comes to oil, coconut oil, then coconut milk, pulsambol, then coconut. So these are things in the food basket: rice, coconut, then the salt. These are the main items that being nutrition. Then Prashan was talking about malnutrition. These are repercussions from the Aragalaya time. People couldn't afford, so the outcome of that Aragalaya is malnutrition and your immunity. Time to come, you'll have to spend more money if you don't address this issue to the people. In the same way, the coconut trees got affected because there was no fertilizer. It was not fertilized. So, like white spot disease took over the industry, whole industry. If the tree had immunity to fight back the white fly disease or any diseases that strike any agriculture sector, it's easy to fight and control it. But they are unable to control it. But nevertheless, if the coconut sector, if the government is looking at getting dollars into the existing industry where there is capacity, factories are in place, oil mills are in place, coconut, desiccated coconut, oil, milk powder. As far as coconut industry is concerned, you can go in even if it is given, if the government allows import of fresh coconuts under TEEP to be re-exported from the factory, like they are doing for rubber. Rubber is being imported and re-exported. Now it's the second export income earner as far as agriculture is concerned. Many countries are importing coconut and re-exporting. If you look at Vietnam, Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines, not mainly, but substantially. If you look at our range, our category where we have been number 1 or number 2 in the world market in 1980s. Now we are the 4th or the 5th. That is because not enough funding for the CRI, CCB, and also they don't now want any form of coconut to be imported to Sri Lanka, because they say they make the government officials, they put fear into them, the ministers and so on and so forth, which they have been doing all these years. Now, if you look at Australia, quarantine regulations are very, very strict. One of the strictest countries in the world. But coconuts are being sent to from Malaysia, Indonesia, Vietnam, wherever they are manufactured, they are sent to countries like Australia, Europe, America, any country. It's been exported. There's not a single country that stopped. It's only Sri Lanka. We being island, we were unable to control diseases. So what more can we get from importing a coconut from another country?
Mr. Perera, now, as important as it is to speak about the government and the actions of the government, I believe at the previous parliamentary election, the campaign slogan of the People's Struggle Movement was, let's change the opposition. They exclusively campaigned to change the opposition. Let's put a more competent opposition in place. So speaking about the opposition, there are those who speculate that the opposition is in tatters, and given the recent drive of the government against corruption, so on and so forth, that all opposition parties are now banding together. Are all opposition parties banding together? What is really going on inside the opposition?
Now, when you look at a government with 159 members, what more can you say when they can't send one person to our interview today? You can't say that they are discussing about the budget, all 159 at this time of the day. So this shows that they have failed. So opposition needs to put their act together. The number one item is corruption. We will support at any time with everybody or without anybody. 100% SJB will support against corruption. This is one of the main reasons where we are today. And
but
why
now,
the JP
but the
came
question
to
really
power
is
today.
the question really is now are all opposition parties uniting now? There are talks of the SJB joining hands with the UNP. Is the SLPP also invited? We recently saw a photo circulating of a discussion chaired by the opposition leader himself. What's happening?
It is like this. Now, local government, the number of people who are, like Prashan said, you have to know the person whom you are voting. People will vote for the person whom they know. They will not vote for a person whom they don't know, or who have been having a very bad past. Robberies, murders, burning of government property. This is the past of the JVP. So they will definitely not vote for a person who has had the past of doing such things in the village. So they will definitely vote for a good person, genuine person, educated person, a different person who doesn't have a bad record. So definitely, if you are looking at what the outcome of the local government is going to be, whether we go as a coalition or whether we go as different parties, definitely the present government will lose the majority local government control in most of the cases.
Thank you very much, Mr. Neomal Perera. We now move our attention to President's Council Maithri Gunaratne from the UNFF. Mr. Gunaratne, are you also not happy about the conduct of this government? Are you content, or are you simply sitting back and watching what's happening?
Basically, I'm disappointed because I don't think they can give excuses, because in the manner they promised, and as Prashan said, the rhetoric before coming into power, I mean, people thought that these guys are going to be the messiahs who are going to take this country into a different level. But having got power, I mean, they are coming. The point is, Chalan, if you listen to the stories even of the president and the main ministers, before the election what they have said, and after the election what they are doing, it is poles apart. So I can't. One thing I can't.
Could you give us some examples, Mr. Gunaratne?
Now, for instance, they said that they are not going with the IMF. They are going to change the governor of the central bank. Only one example. There are so many. Change the governor of the central bank. They are going to change the secretary of the treasury. Now they come to power, and they do completely the opposite. They go with the IMF program. They keep the secretary of the treasury. They keep the governor of the central bank. So in so many different instances, they have promised so much. So they have basically lied and deceived. Lies and deception was the main way they have won this election. And the other thing is now, for instance, let me give you an example. When Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa had to leave and hand over power, the country was at a very, very low ebb. There was no petrol. It was in a total mess. Then, for some reason or the other, Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe was elected by Parliament as the president. Not that I'm trying to bet for Ranil Wickremesinghe or I'm there, but what I'm saying is, from the time he got into the seat, we saw bits of progress. It was almost immediate. So, I mean, petrol slowly started coming in. Of course, we may not have been able to run as normal, but after 2 to 3 months, things started improving and the economy basically caught up. So, what I'm saying is, President has been elected, now it's about 4 to 5 months. He has no time to now give excuses and say, wait till the budget is over, wait till 6 months is over, wait till 1 year is over. These are all excuses which is not acceptable. And the other thing is now, their symbol which they chose was the compass, and I think they have lost their bearings. Because now, if they are catering to a country which has to pay a massive debt, I don't know, it was $120 billion some time ago, it may be more now. So if we have to pay that debt in 2026, 27, 28, then Chalan, we need to get into a massive production process where this country has to produce stuff to export. Otherwise, how are we going to pay this debt? How are we going to pay this debt? So these are things which the government is not talking, the government is not acting upon. They are doing something with regard to corruption. What is good is good. But, they go and arrest people who have changed some chassis number of a vehicle, chassis number of a jeep. So, what credibility has it brought to the government? Now, one good thing which has happened is, now I saw today, the High Court of Colombo has sent a summons on one of the Rajapaksas to appear on the 18th of this month for a case. Those are credible things which they have done, which we all support, which must be brought into the public domain. But the small instances where they are going and getting on a vehicle or things, these are things which I don't think is gaining much.
So are you of the view that those should not be looked into?
No, what I'm saying is,
blind eye?
No, having promised a huge, given people so much of hope that they are going to do away with corruption and things like that, and they go and go behind a vehicle or a chassis number or something like that. To me it seems to be a joke. So what I'm saying is, let them be a bit more serious and go behind there is so many cases which they can go behind. Now there is this MIG case. I am handling one part of the case for some of the suspects. Now, in that case, if they really go into the MIG case, you can bring some big names in. But these are things which they will have to look into. There are so many other cases, and sometimes, Chalan, there is another issue. Some cases have been investigated, cases have been filed, and people have been acquitted, or there hasn't been evidence. So you may need to amend the laws to revisit these cases, because otherwise you can't punish the person twice for the same offense. Because what happened was, what we must realize is, when these cases were investigated, there were people in that government who were supporting the previous government. Deals within deals, wheels within wheels. So sometimes when they got to the point where at the investigation where they could have arrested, they stopped it and they took the investigation somewhere else. So they filed a case with hardly any evidence to convict or to take the person to court. So when you bring them to court, You know it, right? When you bring them to court, I mean, courts are not going to convict them because public opinion is against them. You need solid evidence to convict. So ultimately what happens is there is no evidence. So then they are acquitted or they are discharged. So if they have been acquitted, if they have been discharged, now the JVP is talking about 400 files, the famous 400 files in a double cap. Now, how many of those 400 files have come out? Now, why are they going behind these chassis numbers and small vehicles, old lorries, jeeps? These 400 files they spoke about, the 400 files they marketed to the people saying that these 400 files, we are going to, once we investigate this, all these fellows are going to be remanded, taken into custody, we are bringing them to courts, all that. Nothing has happened.
24 hours, 7 days,
1 month. So all this rhetoric, I mean, they have lied and deceived the people of this country.
Thank you very much, President's Counsel Maithri Gunaratne. I now open the floor for questions from our journalists. We've got Shihar Aniz and Naveksha Gunasekara joining us today. Naveksha?
I'd like to start off with Mr. Neomal Perera from the Samak Janabalavekia. Let's talk about this local government election that's supposed to take place in April. What is the SJB's plan this time around? Is it going to be affiliating with the United National Party? If so, why do you feel like now is the right time? Shouldn't this have happened before the parliamentary election? Is it that Sajith Premadasa is always often too late to take the right decision?
It should have happened before the presidential election.
Precisely.
Not the general election. Anyway, it didn't happen. So by
So
now...
you're going with the idea of better late than sorry?
No, I'm not saying that. They should have, if they wanted, they would have done that before the presidential, knowing what the trend that was going to take place. Right now, already, I have, from all parties, good people in my list to contest. So as far as the voter is concerned, I have a good team. Whether they have been representing SLPP or UNP, whether the UNP comes separately or jointly, I have already in my electorate selected the candidates and I have the names. I know 100%. Nobody else is going to ask because I have the best names representing the wards. So this is where I am concerned. Put Gampa district, Vattal is concerned. They should join. I mean, definitely, when you have bigger several parties, you can take the best. That is the advantage. Not take names, just names for whoever their relations are, but take the best from all the parties. From Honorable Maithri Gunaratne's party, then Prashant's party, every party, get the best names and put the candidate. This is what people want. So give the people whom they can work with, whom they can trust. That's the main reason. This is as far as local government is concerned. Basically, like our President's Council, Maithri Gunaratne said, they have failed. Lies and deception. It's a lovely film.
Do you also agree with Mr. Gunaratne's statement about how former President Ranil Wickremesinghe showed results much faster than this current government is doing right now?
Yeah, exactly. Like he showed results, prevented people eating, drinking,
So why did your party not support him at the presidential election?
No, because we didn't want to go, because of we had some conditions during that time. Even the Aragalaya, there were people, law association gave a mandate and the working sheet, the way forward. So we were going in line with that, where the country, all the people who wanted that. But that is not what Honorable Ranil Wickremesinghe did. He went his way. But you see, during his time, there are so many charges of Adani wind power being given and various things happening at that time. Medical equipment medicine being done. His health minister was arrested. Then airport aviation minister Nimal Siripala, Japanese ambassador complained about him. Then there's a cover-up, so many cover-ups. This is not what we wanted to do with just because we get a vote to run for a short term. But there was a different motive, an agenda put in place by the country, by the people, which we wanted to implement.
Those were not members of the United National Party. Those were not President Wickremesinghe's people. It was the SLPP government that he had to work with.
Yeah, because
because your party, your party's leader did not come forward to support him.
Yeah, there was no need to come forward. There were instances where we came and supported him. Even the previous government, where when they were giving concessions as far as tax concessions were concerned, various things, we told not to give. The opposition would not tell not to give. Opposition will wait till the government falls. We will encourage them to do something, for where they fail. But we didn't do that. We were responsible opposition. So basically, people wanted something else. See where the present country is
today.
But
Mr. Perera, now speaking about what the people want, I think it was clear during the Aragalaya and of course during the results of the presidential and the parliamentary election, the people wanted new leadership. So when the people have given a clear mandate and showed their entire hand of cards saying this is what we want new leadership, do you think it's wise on the part of the SJB to keep on going back to the same old leaders that the people in Sri Lanka, at least for reasons right or wrong, have rejected over and over again? Do you think that's wise on the part of the SJB?
No, she asked me during the Aragalaya why we did not take it. Why we did not take the government, take over the government.
I'm saying now you are again going to form an alliance with the United National Party. There were discussions with certain members of the SLPP, and mind you, these are certain individuals whom your party have accused of being absolutely corrupt. So I don't understand the logic. I mean, I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying I don't understand the logic.
But we are not going with the people who have corrupt accusations in both parties. There may be people in our party. I don't think there are many, but there are many in the other groups. I don't think we are going to take and give them nominations to everybody when they come together to go forward for the election.
I'd like to pick Prashant's brain on this point now. Prashant, you see how the opposition is operating. You also commented on the government. Now, I'd like to take your view on what do you think the opposition should be doing right now? I mean, you're not your party is not represented in Parliament, so my question to you really is, from a third-party perspective, you're not in Parliament, you don't have that, weight of responsibilities of being a parliamentarian, pushing down on you and clouding your judgment to any degree. So what do you think the opposition should be doing right now?
I think it's very important that the opposition hold the government accountable to all these promises that they swore that they could deliver on. It's not just those in Parliament, but even political groups outside. That's one key responsibility we have. We have to consistently remind them. There are 900 promises in the NPP manifesto. Maybe about 200 of them are measurable. Some of them have dates and indicators. So we have to hold them accountable. Some of these things, if done, is actually in the best interest of the country. Some of these things, if done, would further deteriorate the country. So then oppose what is not healthy and support what it is. But not play the role of what the JVP and MPP may have done in the past, is be an objection force, be a mobilizer of the unions to cripple. Even certain things that they were against, now they're doing. And they've managed to decommission the unions that are no longer functional. So either you didn't know what you were talking about then, or you knew that was the right thing, but you didn't want it to happen because it was not in your watch. So what I would say the opposition has to do is right now not play a crippling role, but to be a strong hand for what is positive, and to be a strong hand again against what's negative, to ensure that the country doesn't make the same mistakes.
But let's take, you spoke about 900 promises in the NPP manifesto. Now this, like it or not, whether voters read the manifesto or not, that is the chief document that forms the basis of the social contract between the people and whoever the government they elect into power. So there were certain sections in those promises that appeal to the people, and the people were really demanding it, because at the time the people felt cheated, they felt betrayed, because they saw the political leadership enjoying all luxuries and all that. And one key demand that the general public has was slash all of these. We don't want our leaders to be treated like kings and at our expense, using our taxpayers' money. But when it comes to topics like, cutting down on expenses, cutting down on perks and privileges for parliamentarians, cutting down on perks and privileges for former presidents. Now, the president himself, President Dissanayake, came out and said, look, we are not opposed to, ensuring you have a proper standard of living, especially regarding retired politicians and former presidents. We're not opposed to any of that. But you do not get preferential treatment over the general public. Even for Aswasuma, for any sort of benefit, the general public needs to apply, and they need to show the government that they can't take care of themselves. So the logic that he propounded in his argument was that even a former president, if you don't have money to live, we will ensure that your standard of living is met. But when these reforms are, when they try to take forward these reforms and implement again what the promises that they gave in their manifesto, there's a huge backlash in Parliament. How do you view this? Is this healthy?
No, I think the backlash in Parliament, in the opposition, but also among the common people, is that they have flip-flopped on so many issues, and they're second-guessing themselves too often that you wonder the sincerity of what they're trying to accomplish. Now, there were many times in the campaign trail they said parliamentarians should not have special treatment. They talked about having this formal houses that the parliamentarians are getting, vehicles, all that. They consistently said on the campaign trail they don't need that. Now all of a sudden, when they have 160 members in parliament, they're going to get a good deal on their vehicles as opposed to what the common man has to pay for to buy a vehicle. They made it appear that the common man finally might have that dream of being able to buy their bike, to buy their car. But now that dream is just a nightmare that you're not going to even get close to. But the parliamentarian is going to have a better, easier opportunity for that. So there have been flip-flops on that, and that's why there is a backlash.
That vehicle was during the time of... They said that before the election also, if I remember correctly, that each parliamentarian will get a vehicle for them to use during their term in office, after which they have to hand it over and leave.
Yeah, there were many times in the campaign trail that they very clearly said there wasn't a need for them to have something special. They don't need to have the houses. They're not coming to serve this way. And now they're also making this false rhetoric that they're not getting paid. No, the party is getting paid, and then the party is paying them. So a lot of these false notions and elements that's making people question. Even the false narrative of saying, the president himself said, we inherited a bankrupt economy, and in 2 months, we delivered. That's an absolute lie. And when you lie like that, then people question everything you stand for. Why do you want to lie that? That's any man with half a brain knows there was a history between 2022 January and now. Some things happen, some others work towards it, but to try and claim that. But then when you can't find salt or get the coconut issue sorted or rice issue sorted, then you go and blame the previous governments. Pick your battle. So when you consistently deceive, then people start questioning, and that's why the backlash is. So the intentions may be good.
According to your logic, everything good that has happened since the new government came into power has had previous governments, previous people working towards it. But everything bad that's happening, the shortage in coconuts, the shortage in rice, salt, be it what it may, and also the rapid increase or the massive increase in vehicle prices, that is all the fault of this government. Is that what you're saying?
The government's rhetoric is complete to the inverse of that.
Exactly.
So they're saying,
two wrongs doesn't make a right.
Exactly. So we're not going to say that this is all their fault. Obviously, you've inherited the corruption and the brokenness. But in the campaign trail, you made promises that you can deliver despite that. You said, yes, this happened. They were so corrupt. They destroyed our economy. They did all these things. But give it to us, and within weeks and months, we will turn it around. They said within 2 months, the drug lords will be gone. In 2 months. 2 years, right? This was either it's soaring rhetoric or they're really to deliver. People thought they would. So now my question is, we have to hold them accountable. That's good stuff. Let's make it happen. And if you had 400 files and you were holding on to it, you'd never had significant power for a long time, and you were deliberating on these files all this time, the assumption is that when you get power, you know what the heck that you're going to do to make it happen. You can't come here now flumble and say, what do I do now?
Well, Prashan, to be fair by the government, they didn't have experience, right?
No, but
that's not what you said.
That's not an excuse.
They were the head of
I know.
You apply to Sirasa as a channel head. You are chosen for the job, and then you say, I don't have experience. Can you give me 3 months to study the job? Are you going to be? Will you be kept there?
I can't comment.
Will you be kept there?
No,
I'm asking a very simple question. That's what you're saying. I mean, the people came and said, okay, give us the job. Give us the job. We are utterly suitable to take it over. Having given the job, now they're saying, look here, we need 3 months to get our act together. I mean, this is a joke. Basically, it's a joke.
Let me ask a
10 years
question.
ago,
of you.
10 years ago, they had the power. They were the chairman of the against anti-corruption in Yapalania, and they had the files. They had the people, and they are still talking about the files. They're trying to make legislature to apprehend these people. I mean, it's a joke.
Let me ask a question from Mr. Gunaratne. Now, see, we are going to have the local government election after 7 years. It was supposed to be held in 2023, then it was postponed by former President Wickramasinghe because we didn't have money. That's what he was told.
No, that's
We were
supposed
told.
that-
We were
because
told.
because
We were told,
because
right?
that foolish mistake
Yeah,
he did
yeah, okay.
of postponing that local government.
And if you remember, since then, the JVP or the NPP started their campaign from that time onwards, and it was one of their huge success for this victory. Do you see an appetite for local government election now, and how do you see the grassroots reality?
Well, people are still of the view that you have to give these guys a little time. So I would say if it comes 6 months after they took over government, it may have been better. But the way they are fumbling from one episode to another, if the people are still going to be blind and give them the local government bodies, then of course this country does not have hope. We talk of a high literacy rate and educated people and all that. If they are still going to be blind to it and say, no, these guys are going to do something and give it to the NPP, then of course there is no hope. So I would say the local government election, if it comes in April, the best case scenario is for the opposition to get all forces together, and in that role Mr. Sajith Premadasa is the leader of the opposition. He must stand up to the moment and unite all forces in the opposition and bring a credible team against this government at the local government election. And if that is successful, or if we can reduce their percentages, then we can take on the same slogan this government took when they were in opposition, that now they don't have a mandate. Because now, for instance, when Mr. Ranil Wickramasinghe was elected president by parliament, the common thing was, no, he had no mandate. But that was the democratic process. When one person left or resigned, parliament had to appoint someone. So that was a legitimate president. So what they said was, no, there is no mandate because he was not appointed by the people. So going on that same argument, if at the local government election the opposition can get together, UNP, SJB, all parties. I mean, I don't think our choices and it's different. We don't differ much. I mean, we can agree on 5 or 10 main issues and get together, and then take this fight. And at that election, if we can show the government that the fight is near their doorstep, then we can take it and we can go to the country and say, these guys, they have lost their mandate within 6 months.
But Mr. Perera is your leader. Mr. Sajith Premadasa ready to give that leadership, because as Navesha correctly asked, he has been late in some decision making.
No, definitely not. He's the one who took the initiative to invite all the other parties to fight together, because we know that this government lied and then they can't deliver. And which you and I are experiencing. Cost of living has gone up. They are giving Aswasuma the peanut 6,000 rupees when it has gone up by 15,000. They are giving to few families. But I told you that what good they have done. Maithri Gunaratne PC told that we have to think of bringing dollars. So to bring dollars, we have to bring a certain amount of keeping the coconut prices, estate coconut prices, for them to maintain their estates and give a fair price for them. Plus import and re-export under team. So such good things we say good, but that's not going to help in general what we should do. But we have to make sure that they took the mandate of the people, promising various things.
So
cost of living,
yeah.
anti-corruption, not taking vehicles and chassis numbers and preventing political rivals and then arresting them. This is not what Andre Apa was taken. He and his wife was taken from bed in midnight. And if you had told him he's a respectable lawyer, he would have come following day 8 o'clock in the morning.
You don't do that kind of thing.
Appeared. You don't do that sort of thing. This is exactly the mentality of JVP. Although the NPP is there, that's why I told you there are good people in the NPP government who want to do something. They will not be allowed to do the best for the country. This is the problem.
In a nutshell, do you say that the opposition leader and SJB leader Sajith Premadasa is ready to basically forget everything in the past and merge forces, merge with others, and
we
have a great coalition in the opposition?
As a politician, it's all about coming to power and retaining power and to keep the people happy. And one of the main reasons is anti-corruption. We are at the highest level, although we were not able to translate it to the people the way we could have lied to the people and told them that following day we are bringing these people to book and then putting them behind bars and all that. We couldn't do that, but there are enough cases. Bring legislature, and then you can like Kalia's case. There are so many belongings confiscated. There are so many information available where people have accumulated wealth. When you can't when they have not accounted for those people who have made confiscated temporarily, bring the legislator, legally do it and pay your debt from that money. I mean, it will take time, but before that, make sure that you prevent corruption taking place.
But
Before that. Now, if you look at Shillong, now that garment factory, why do you think that garment factory and the number of people who went in that van to ask from the factory owner, what did they want from that garment factory in Shillong? Of course, they wanted to change the transport system to their catchers. But to see, it was the same people who were actually managing those in the previous government. So this is exactly what they are doing. They should do this sort of thing. Obviously, it was stopped at that time, but basically we have to stop corruption taking place, bring everybody together as far as local government is concerned, and tell them basically we should get together and in the local government, although we cannot deliver at the local government the cost of living, reduce cost of living at the local government, but to put pressure on the government to reduce cost of living and for transparency. If we get together and then defeat them in the local government, then this government will be against the wall to deliver to the people. This is what we want to do immediately. That is the leadership Sajith Premadasa is giving as the leader of the opposition, to bring everybody together, to put them against the wall and to get what they promised.
I remember Mr. Gunaratne during a Face the Nation program, you actually batting for JVP, saying that they are the best people to address the corruption.
Yes.
What made you to change now?
I'm not changing. I'm saying they're not performing. In the manner in which they promised, if they could have delivered, that would have been the best situation. What we are saying is do it, as Prashan said. It's a fantastic manifesto of super promises. But why don't you do it? Now why are you backtracking? Don't backtrack, do it. But we want them to do it. We also want this corruption to end. Because until there is corruption, we cannot take this country forward. But all the rhetoric has gone under the bridge now. I don't think they are going to be all that successful. I hope they are. But the way they are going, I mean, it's not going to be successful.
Unless we together win the local government and push them against the wall to do what they promised.
I'd like to check on Prashan De Visser's point of view on this. Now, Mr. Gunaratne and Neomal Perera said that the existing opposition, meaning the big parties, the big players in the game, the Samagi Jana Balavege, the UNP and all of the other parties should get together, contest the local government election and try and overpower this government. Prashan, do you see any point, or do you think it fair to ask the people to now vote for the people who they didn't vote for at the previous election to try and push out the people that they did vote for in the previous election. Do you think that's how we should go forward, or are you of a different opinion?
I think it's a major gamble on the part of the opposition. It could go either way, right? In the sense of the JVP's rhetoric to the opposition right now is all of the rogues have come together. So they try to paint everybody as rogues. So now they're trying to say, no, everybody is rogues and the rogues have come together. And that narrative, and saying now to preserve what you have given us, give us more power. That's the narrative that they would go on. But the other side of the coin is that when their opposition is all trying to get their bearings right, and you want to have a stronger resistance and hold the government accountable, maybe coming together is the way that people will start saying, maybe we'll come this way, especially because local government is more about the individuals, and if you can put the right people and highlight them, regardless of their party, maybe you can have more power in the local governments and have some influence there. So it's to be seen. For me, the danger is we've had this political culture of saying coming to power and staying in power is the utmost holy grail. As a result, the country hasn't developed. As a result, we have suffered. So there's a danger in that. But at the same time, you need to do a better job of holding the government accountable to do what they said they would do. And this government had the best opportunity that anybody did. Having 2/3, people were ready. That was the first time it was an anti-establishment wave. You could change the political culture that you preached about. But then at the rate of flip-flopping, at the rate of fumbling, at the rate of cheap theatrics, you start wondering, were they really authentic about it? That's where the concern's coming right now. So the opposition needs to hold them accountable to saying, stop with the drama, deliver on this.
So are you saying that there isn't a sizable shift in the kind of political culture that was there pre-presidential election? You're not seeing a change in that political culture, or are you saying the change is not enough? What are you saying?
So the political culture, changing it was the whole narrative of the...
So no, is there change? Have you seen change? No.
It's not the change that we heard preached about. There are elements of it, there are theatrics of it. Like for example, they come into power and immediately they're saying we need more time to consider the PTA to be removed. That's not the culture that we thought of. You said you were going to do certain things, that you would do it. Executive presidency, we'll run this to the end of this term and then we will decide. Constitutional change will come, we'll decide it. Economic, they said, we are going to, their narrative over the years was a far left ideology of state-owned enterprises and all of that. And now it's like a mix of everything. We're going to go this way or that way. Sri Lankan Airlines will sell this, maybe not. And so you're like, what are you exactly standing for? What's the narrative? And then different, for example, the Deputy Minister of Youth Affairs today is saying he's going to work towards 35,000 new government jobs for unemployed graduates. How is that going to go with the IMF program? You're supposed to shrink government, and now you want to go create 35,000. So this misspeaking or double speaking from different sides of the space. So we are all wanting them to succeed, not because we love the JVP or the MPP, because we don't want the country to suffer anymore. Regardless of your political affiliation, you want them to play the right game here. But why are they now backtracking? Is it a lack of competence? Is it that they were never sincere about it? Or are they now depicting the same political culture of false promises and not being able to deliver? That's what's the question that many are asking. And still, I think, overwhelming majority want to give them a chance. But I feel as a democracy, the state of the nation is a reflection on us. And we, the people and political parties, need to consistently hold people accountable and not be swayed by nice emotional theatrics or nice statements or an amazing marketing campaign of 2 years to build this image that they are the holiest of holies and they will do it. No, we have to poke holes at it until we know it's true.
So, oh, sorry.
No, Mr. Gunaratne, you said during your opening remarks about the MIG deal, right? There are some big fish that the government has not basically focused on, successive government. Who are they and why the governments are not
No, it's like this. When the government was pursuing the war, they needed these MiGs to have dominate the skies. So there was a need for MiGs, and there were MiGs available in Ukraine for $7.5 million US. Okay?
each?
No, the fleet.
The
Maybe
fleet.
5 or 6,
Okay,
I'm not sure of the exact amount. So, Ukraine government was was willing to sell it for $7.5 million. Then what happened was the government of Sri Lanka said, we don't have the money to pay this $7.5 million. Okay. Then what they did was they found investor to come in to help this. So when the investor came to facilitate...
You mean lender, right? A lender.
Lender
Broker.
and broker. It was a broker, basically a broker. So there was a broker who intervened and said, okay, we will give you credit. We will give you credit, but the MIGs are going to cost you $15 million. MIGs are going to cost you $15 million. So what I'm saying is, at that time, the defense minister was whoever, finance minister was whoever, defense secretary was whoever.
Let's name, right? 2007, you know.
Right? So it was all a home and home match.
Why are you shy to name them?
Right? All a home and home match. Home and home match. And they could have manipulated anything. They could have manipulated anything. They could have said there is no money. Get a financier. So obviously the MIGs were available at 7.5 million. So what happened was they got the broker to come in, bought it at 7.5 million and sold it to the government of Sri Lanka at 15 million. So someone made 7.5 million on these MIGs. No rocket science.
Files are missing now.
And
I think the original document, original agreement is missing.
Original agreement, the agreement signed in the Air Force headquarters by the Air Force commander and the representative of the Ukrainian government was missing in the Air Force headquarters. Now, how can you accept this kind of, absurd stories? Can you have a document like that inside the Air Force commanders, whatever complex, go missing? What have they done against them? So these are the issues. These are the issues, and I brought this up in court. I said, you are trying to pursue my clients, but the main, how can you go ahead with this case with the main agreement missing? And what have you done against the guys who have got this to go missing? And the CID comes and says that the then Attorney General has said that there is no case against those guys. Where do you go from that point?
So, Mr. Gunaratne, you were earlier speaking about the local government election and how, the political mandate should now, you should try to shift it so that you can push forward for a change in government come the next presidential, general, provincial council elections. What good would that do for the country?
No, the good it is going to do is, Shalan, now these guys have got 2/3 and more. So they think that they have got a blank check. So moment and now that people have given them a mandate which they never even expected, more than what they expected. So having got that mandate, now we are quite convinced that this was lies and deception. So at least the only way you can push them to deliver on their promises is to show that they are losing their mandate. The only way. You can push them to show that they are losing their mandate. Now, for instance, if the voter again blindly goes and says, "Nah, megolantama api meka demu meka komari karagane yanda," then these guys are going to say.
But Mr. Gunaratne, we have seen some defeats in the corporate society.
No, correct. So I hope that is going to take place at the local government election. So for it to take place now, the cooperative elections, all parties have got together there.
Exactly.
All parties have got together there. So it is sad to say, if the leader of the opposition has a role to play, he has a role to play. I say that he is not playing that role. He is not playing that role. Come what may, if he wants to lead, if he wants to come back to the limelight, and if he wants to contest again in 2029, he has to be more active. He has to hold this government, he has to take this government to task. He has to put them on the spotlight. Otherwise, what's going to happen is that, as it is, people are saying the opposition is of no use. There is no opposition. That is the.
This is the exact question I asked from Mr. Perera. Is Sajid Pravath ready for that?
Definitely.
Mr. Perera, now you were extremely critical.
Mr. Perera can't say anything else.
He himself has not.
He will be removed from the organization. He will have to come to my party then, which I will welcome him.
What he did is the result of the cooperative election. Already, without the main people joining, we have won many cooperative elections.
But now, Mr. Perera, now
all come and told in public well enough and rubbed it on you all, saying that it's him who did it.
So all speakers were highly critical about theatrics, political stunts that are usually seen during the run-up to an election. Now, Mr. Perera, you also were critical of that, and you said that shouldn't be given any space, that shouldn't be given any credence, that should not be part of Sri Lanka's political culture. But can you tell the general public that the SJB's leadership does not engage in such political stunts, political theatrics, and false rhetorics?
Yeah, if we had also followed the same thing, we would have won. We didn't do it. That's the main reason.
But if this was a topic that was discussed on a few other political shows that I was watching over the past few weeks. This whole argument that was being propounded during the run-up to the presidential election, that the SJB is such a great opposition that even while in the opposition, we are doing work for the people, we are donating buses, we are building smart classrooms, and we saw that happening. We saw that happening only during the run-up to the presidential election. Now a new government has come into power, the SJB is in the opposition again, but none of that is happening. And what really struck me there was not the fact that this happened altogether, but when this question was posed at the program, a member of your party itself, and since that person is not here, I won't name them out in the open, but the representative from the SJB said, well, we gave all of these things to the people and still the people voted against us. What's the point in us giving these things to people now? So does that not qualify as a political stunt or theatrics in your book?
No, this was his opinion to give the schools what the students require. This is where he was planning to bring the school standards to certain. He was just giving as an example to few schools and few buses that did, of course, wouldn't have made a big difference. But of course, this is the example that he wanted to show the people that this is what we will do. There are people funding, being in the opposition, doing these things. Nobody ever has done that sort of thing. But today the issue is very much bigger than that. Very much bigger. Even former president did certain things for the schools. But today the situation is people are unable to make their ends meet. Today from morning till evening have their 2 meals. That's a bigger issue today. Malnutrition, giving few books to the school students is not going to help them. There are most of the teachers have left the country. I mean, top people, the people who can build the country faster have already left the country. So we can't do overnight. They will not come because there's nothing that we see that this government is doing to bring them back. So these are, now look at the middle, you are talking about middle income people. The middle income people were enjoying 18-19% interest. It has already come down to 7-8%. So how can they, over 60, the elderly people, senior citizens are not given, even a 1% increase in their interest rates? How do you expect them to survive? 15-20,000, what is the pension? 15-20,000.
Now, if
not
you are
15%, 15,000 has increased by 15,000.
If you are assigning blame if you're assigning blame for all of these,
no, I'm not assigning blame.
You're not assigning blame.
I'm not assigning blame. I'm telling this is the reality. What is taking place? This is what they promised, but we didn't promise anything of this. Now see, rice issue. They put so many tenders. They couldn't do it. Who brought the rice? private sector. Now, salt issue, they bring one container last week, Monday, and they give so much of publicity. You think one container is enough? Country needs 150,000 metric tons. There is no salt.
A month.
A year for the consumption. Let's say they are not eating all this, at least 100,000 tons must be brought, no? So if you are eating 3 meals, yes, 150. Say 2 meals, 100,000.
I'm going to see right around the country.
Yeah. And you know, there is a process of making salt, and there is a huge shortage already. Then they are saying Elephant Pass is coming, because people don't go to Elephant Pass to see whether the salt is there. So they are saying it's coming from Elephant Pass. There is no, give the public sector, private sector to import if you want to sort issue. That's all I'm saying. Otherwise, there's a huge crisis. I mean, people, it's like a polka, you know, when there is no salt in the house, they say Kalakanni ne. There is no salt in the country, Rata is Kalakanni, become Kalakanni now. So this is where the situation, the mismanagement. They think everybody is robbing. They want to do it by themselves, and they don't have the contacts, they get robbed. They are cheating. People are cheating. Government servants are not supporting them, because they also voted for them, and they are unhappy. They say 6 months they'll look at the cost of living and increase the salary. Didn't they say that? So many months, 6 months have passed since President came.
I think we need
this is what President gave.
I think we need to wait until the budget to decide that.
We will wait. But we will wait. Budget, the cost, you can see from the local government after the budget. People for the Sinhalese New Year, there won't be rice, there won't be coconut, there won't be salt. Where is the Kiribat? There won't be Kiribat. First time in the history of Sri Lanka, in the Sinhalese New Year. Thereafter only you are going for the local government.
Chalan, there is one thing, one concern. You spoke about this Aswasuma on many occasions. There is a certain thing which I want to express about this Aswasuma and Clean Sri Lanka. Now, Aswasuma recipients have been chosen maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago. And the reason for choosing these people were because they were the poorest of the poor. Now, if you are going to give these poorest of the poor unlimited supply of money for doing nothing, how productive are you going to make them at village level? That is one. And the other thing is, how effectively did you choose these people? Because from my experience, and I think Neomal will be able to say, and even Prashan should be able to say, most of these Aswasuma recipients are people who have some substantial wealth at village level. So now, when you are saying you are cleaning Sri Lanka and you have a massive mandate, shouldn't that also be scrutinized? And shouldn't the government really look for the poorest of the poor, the feeble, the disabled, and then give those families some kind of support, rather than give people who have already businesses, already three-wheelers, already cars, superb houses? There is absolutely no audit into this Aswasuma. So what I'm saying is, I mean, giving handouts are not going to make this country.
But Mr. Gunaratne, on that point, I believe when Ranil Wickremesinghe was the president, and they reformed they brought in the Aswasuma program and replaced Samurthi.
No, so that is only changing the name. That's
yes.
They changed the name.
There was a huge process that was ongoing. I remember there were certain issues because some of the recipients had to scan a QR code and submit their information. I remember all of these things, and that is a massive process that should be conducted over a course of several months to select these recipients.
And it actually delayed the process as well.
Yeah, the process was delayed as well. There were complaints on that point as well.
Still, there are people who are affluent at village level who are still getting the Aswasuma. So how can you say that it was
are you saying this with actionable evidence?
Definitely.
Not only that, they came in vehicles and collected 5,000 rupees.
Now you ask, I mean, this
they are employed.
Neomal is active in Vattala and in Putlam district and in the Gampa district. He's active, and you ask him, he will say that.
Why is that? Why is that?
No, that's because
politically they have selected the people.
So then, Mr. Perera, are you saying now, because these people were selected during the reign of Ranil Wickremesinghe, you're saying now that these people are, they were selected politically, these people already have money, and that was wrong. That was wrong. But still at the local government election, we are going to contest with Ranil Wickremesinghe, who was either directly or by his agents involved in this. Is that what you're saying? I don't understand the logic.
Issue is transparency, accountability.
Okay.
We have to put those things in place.
Okay.
Local government, you can't put those in place. That's why they were given 100. Now they are having 150 members in parliament to put that in. 6 months have passed. They are not brought legislature.
No, but
put accountability in place. No.
As much as
this is what is number one.
As much as pushing a government to deliver on their promises is important for the development of a country, isn't it also important that the general public just doesn't swing from one side to the other, always voting to chase away a government and not really voting in a competent government? Now, each of these massive political parties in Sri Lanka have been given numerous opportunities, and I think it was President Gotabaya Rajapaksa himself, correct me if I'm wrong, at his inauguration speech, who said, if we are given a massive mandate now, we have been given power. If we don't deliver on these, don't elect us again. I think, I remember...
Not electing, he was kicked out because he didn't deliver.
Exactly. So he said himself, be it as it may, he said himself, you have given us a massive mandate. On his inauguration, he said, you have given us a massive mandate. If we don't deliver on these promises, don't elect us into power again. This is what the president said.
Same thing will happen to these people if they don't deliver. That is why we are asking for a mandate presently for the local government that cannot change the constitution in this country.
So that you all will be able to push this government to deliver on their promises.
Exactly. We are 100% in agreement with that. Not only that. Now look at Aswasuma. Now Honorable Maithri Gunaratne said there are so many people enjoying this. Actually, as far as I am concerned, certain sectors, now if you look at the coconut sector, if I can run my factory, they don't need Aswasuma. But their job is not stable because we don't know whether I will supply, I can give them coconuts for the factory to function next month. So obviously, it's not stable. The country is not stable. So the policies, principles, I feel today, the way things are, whole country has to be given Aswasuma. That's where it is today. Now look at small and medium scale enterprises. Why did they crash? Now it was Easter Sunday bomb. Tourism sector went off. Then allied sectors that were depending on tourism and so on and so forth crashed. Then COVID came. Now how many countries survived, did very well after COVID, due to COVID? Our productivity was better. But due to mismanagement...
After that economic crisis.
After that economic crisis, we told not to reduce these prices. There's income and expenditure. Mismanagement. Basically, that is what is happening today. This is what we are saying.
Prashan, given what's going on in the government and on its popularity, how do you see chances of your party, having some seats, winning some seats in the next local government election?
So, as a movement, we started the centenary movement. Our vision is the long game we believe the established parties and the political culture in that party may not be well placed to truly create a developed country. There is more opportunity for self-sabotage within the establishment. And so if we put all our eggs in that basket forever and ever, will our children have a developed nation? And so we are playing the long game here. We have our political academy, we have students who are graduating, and we're playing the 5, 10, 15 years down the road. Can we actually build an order? Because sometimes the very foundations of these established parties are built with the wrong values and have not been able to deliver Sri Lanka's pain, deliver Sri Lanka out of this pain, out of the brokenness. And so we feel that in this context, no one thought that the JVP would get this kind of mandate, right? 45 years of in the wilderness, trying hard, maybe occasionally joining a party, but they managed to finally get there because all of a sudden now people are moving away at these early stages, moving away from blind party loyalty to wanting to see results. And they were the only viable alternative that was there. Even though they have been hitching their wagon with other parties in the past, they were the viable alternative. So they provided that. But I think in the years to come with younger generations who don't have a loyalty to any political party may look for substance and people who actually want to deliver and can deliver. And that's, I think, the opportunity for new parties that are coming in. It's a long shot, but I think it's worth it, because otherwise, for personal gain, leaning on established parties, your chances are better. But if you're really trying to push for a new political culture, I don't think established parties that have been around for 45 years have the political culture that will transform the nation.
Mr. Gunaratne, in your view, what has the government done so far correctly since it was elected?
I would say wastage they have been able to stop. Wastage they have been able to stop. And there is like with the police and all, there is some kind of like discipline where people are scared to break the law. People are scared to break the law.
You mean the discipline has come?
There is a little discipline which has come in, but if they don't work on it on a daily basis, people are going to veer away from it. Now, for instance, I'll tell you what happened when Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa came into power. The first thing he did was he went and jumped into RMV. And when he went into RMV is one of the most corrupted places you can get on earth, in this earth. The job which they took 5,000 to do before Gotabaya went, after Gotabaya went, they started charging 25,000. Why? They said, "Nah, Gotabaya katte then dala dine ko meka amaru wedi karaganna. Eka nisa mekara 25,000." Right? So now with these people, now everyone is watching. Still they are watching what their game plan is. And moment they know that these guys are unable to deliver, then it's going to start with a vengeance. And it's the same carnival is going to continue.
But how far?
Passport they are working 24 hours. That's something good that they are, if they can continue, give passports immediately, something good.
So new counters were open at the Bandaranaike International Airport.
24 hours for passport.
Reduction there. The railway department, at least hopefully, some change comes from there.
Now the other thing is, now Sirasa, you take the plantations, the tea estates. Now all these tea estates, I mean, if they are properly managed, if they are properly looked after, you can increase the production immediately by 30 to 35%. Immediately. And if you really are at it, you can increase it by about 50%. So why isn't the government doing that now? The minister is busy fighting someone's bungalow, someone's land. He's not interested. He's focused on the plantations. Now, the plantations have been leased to these companies. If I'm right, there is a clause in an agreement where they have to replant 5 acres every year. 5% every year. How many plantation companies have done it?
No plantation.
Then what happens? Naturally, tea bushes die. So there is about 10-15% loss of tea bushes per year. So when you take 10 years, you are losing so many acres of tea bushes. So as a result of that, what has happened? They are closing more and more factories because the acreage is shrinking. Labor force is unemployed there. Productivity is low. Who is looking into this? Now, these guys, these captains said, we are the people who are going to solve the problem in this country.
Coconut is the same thing.
Same problem. We are going to sort this problem out.
Within 1 year, you can increase the productivity by 30%, coconut.
I am saying tea industry within 3 months to 6 months. Because moment you apply some fertilizer, you start doing the plucking properly and do the weeding, you increase the production. So, where is the expertise, where is the political will to do that?
Since you brought in this, Gotabaya Rajapaksa, former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa went to the RMB and, did something.
Were you also there?
No. It shows the micromanagement of a president. Do you see the same thing with the current president?
Yes. He's also trying to do micromanagement. Why is he trying to do that?
That's another dangerous sign.
It's a dangerous sign.
When you're running out of actual capacity to implement what you said doing these theatrics of going, and why should the president
do that?
And some of the ministers, why is the minister of transport all of a sudden going on these tours? And these are all theatrics that show either you don't know what you're doing or you're confused Or you made promises that you can't deliver.
Prashant, what was worse, when they started this Clean Sri Lanka program, one fellow jumped into a lake and was removing the Japan Jabara. I mean, they are not only, they are jokers.
Like a megapolis. Like the man who said about megapolis.
I have no comments.
Jumped into the lake, he's removing Japan.
In Chile, I saw a clip cleaning the road, taking the dust off. Clean Sri Lanka.
Because that helps a marketing narrative of the humility, we'll get our hands dirty, we can do it. Now the campaign is over. Now the time is to deliver. You said you would. You had 100 and something days now, plus days. How have you delivered? What are you doing? And for us, the biggest issue is, if you don't revive the economy to perform, we have to start paying debt by 27, 28. And how have you revived the economy so far? How are you bringing investors?
But Prashant, shouldn't you give a credit to the government that they have not so far messed up with the economy and they have been...
No, that is because they are following the IMF program to the last word. But if they messed up with the IMF program, gone.
But if they did what they said on the campaign for that front, that would have been messed up. On the campaign, they said they're going to renegotiate the IMF. They don't. And actually, before that, the president said, any country that the IMF has touched has never succeeded. And they are a curse. And they talked about the central bank governor, all those things. Thank goodness for the good of the nation, they decided to stick to the blueprint and not mess the apple cart.
That's right.
That's the one good thing that they did. Realize that they were wrong. They still don't admit that they were wrong. They still don't admit. They don't have the
humility to admit it.
They will never admit it. But that's the best thing they've done is they've kept quiet, put their heads down, and stuck to the blueprint that you can't turn on the program right now. The economy would have collapsed aggressively. So, admit you were wrong. Well, don't even say admit it. Stick to the plan on the economy. But now, how are you going to revive? You can't continue to have state-owned enterprises that are failing over and over again and saying you're going to keep these things running.
No, I think even on that front, President had recently made a statement saying that, you know, some of these state-owned enterprises we will have to close down.
But how long are they going to take?
But at the election campaigns, they were saying, no, we're going to make it run. Now they're saying, so now you can't double speak on the people. Because some of their major voter base is in the government sector itself, is in these state-owned enterprises. How are they going to deal with them? You can't say we've neutralized the unions now. They used to work for us and now they're not working. They're going to be quiet forever. What's your plan here? Have clear signals. You can't be saying this and that at all given times. And for me, like even recently I went to the officials, especially on the nutrition issue, and I'm like, you know, you say there are 1,000 kids who are malnourished. You know, why don't you get the private sector and everybody to get together and let's address this issue. If a child is malnourished before the age of 5 for more than a year, severe development issues. Their immunity is at stake, all of that is stake. Why don't, no, we won't give this information away to anybody. You have to come through the Minister of Health to get the information so we can provide the support. That kind of bureaucracies and things like that, because that was the community that you said you were going to serve. These are the poorest of the poor. So, if it's a new
these kind of issues even date back to the time when, during COVID, there was a circular issued. Doctors cannot make any statements without the permission of the secretary. I don't think that
a new political culture. A new political culture doesn't leave room for that idiocy anymore. That has to end. We can't let these children suffer. What have they done wrong? Like when I was told that no, we will not give the information of children on the red line unless you go to the Minister of Health and the Secretary and get that information. Not for us to put it out there so that people can support and ensure that we get them out of it.
Prashad, there's a faster way that you can get that information. Under the Right to Information Act. 14 days. And if they don't respond, you can go to President's Council, Maithri Gunaratne. He'd definitely take you through the legal procedure on that. And with that, gentlemen, we will have to close the round and enter into the final round of Face the Nation. For the closing arguments, I'd first go to President's Council, Maithri Gunaratne from the UNFF. President's Council Gunaratne, you said that the government is failing on several fronts. You said that there are better ways to do things in this country, in various sectors of the country. You specifically highlighted a few of them. Mr. Gunaratne, in your closing statement, I would appreciate it if you would address as to if there are any barriers for you to present these ideas that you have, that your party has, that your party advocates to the current ruling class. And if not, is it possible for you to support the government at any given point, because this is still just a few months. They've anyways legitimately got another 4.5 years, a little more than 4.5 years to be in power. So is that an option that's on the table? If you could address that during your closing statement. Your time starts now.
Certainly, Charan, if the government wants our support for the development of the country, we are always willing to give it. Right? But the fact is, they know it all. There is nothing that we can go and add to them. That is the problem. So, when they are in that mentality, even if we go to offer, we will be scorned upon. But certainly, at least if the president feels now, after 6 months or 3 months or 6 months, that his team is unable to perform, then what do? You make a reassessment and say, okay, now my guys, I have given them responsibility for 6 months, they have failed. I have the sole responsibility, the president has the sole responsibility of taking this country to the next level. So then what he has to do is, he has to look for some guys who are competent and at least give them a 3-month period to see whether they can change this. Otherwise, we are going to go from bad to worse. And as we spoke earlier, luckily they are following the IMF program. Otherwise, by now, we would have had queues and there would have been chaos in this country. And the other thing is, Alan, which I wanted to say, because we were all talking, now the rice crisis and the rains, we have had continuous rains. So when we have continuous rains, there is a certain amount of money we save from the energy bill. So now, if it is a prudent government, they can take a slice of that saving from the energy bill and put it into the agriculture sector and see that these farmers who have got their paddy fields inundated and crops ruined are compensated so that they can start the paddy field during the next season. Because now what is going to happen is, in the most areas where paddy is being produced, all the rice fields have been destroyed. There is no insurance for them. So then what is going to happen is, the farmer is not going to be able to cultivate the paddy for the next season. So this problem is going to somersault and snowball. So moment that happens, it is going to be another crisis where people are going to come to the streets. And if the people come to the streets with no food to eat, God bless the government.
Thank you very much, President's Counsel Maithri Gunaratne. We will now move our attention to Neomal Perera from the Samagijana Balavegia. Mr. Perera, now you said that the SJB, of course, like any other political party, is looking to come back into power and promote their policies. But is the SJB able to promote their policies and really stand up for what they believe in when, as of now, the plan is to form a massive alliance with the opposition? Do you think that the SJB's policies and values align with the values and policies of the other constituent parties? Because we've seen time and time again, where alliances come, they fail.
I don't think so, because if you look at the last cooperative elections, we have aligned with them and we won a few cooperative.
Now I was speaking about winning the election.
No.
Afterwards.
Winning the local government, the cooperatives. Then what is next is the local government. Then thereafter is the provincial council. Then thereafter is the presidential. So one by one we will follow and see what's best for the people, and we'll see this. We don't want to topple the government today and tomorrow. We want them to deliver. We are giving our support to bring in dollars to this country. We will give them whatever we can to make sure that they keep their promises. And today, 95% of the people don't have food to eat. That's a reality. You have the 5%, which is 1 million people who goes to the hotels, and 5-star hotels who are eating. The others, with reduced interest rates, with the people who are having huge amount of the businesses which are unable to pay the loans because of the Parate action, they may give time 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 1 year, but end of the day they have to pay it. So when we don't have markets abroad, when the people don't have the buying capacity to buy a second shirt or an underwear or a t-shirt. So what are they going to manufacture? Whom are they going to sell? We have to get new markets abroad. We have to look at going to the other countries and getting markets for these manufacturers. This is not only tourism. Look at the agriculture sector. Luckily, people like Chaturanga who had come to the present government from the private sector is doing something. I'm telling you, he's doing something. So if you get such people, we can expect something to happen as far as bringing dollars to this country. So, but government is concerned. One person can't deliver the way what they have promised. The present government. The president may be having a genuine want to deliver, but there is a way they function. So I understand that the major JVP, the major players decides on what he says and what he does. So he himself can't decide on this is what I hear and what people have been talking about. I don't know how far it's true, but genuinely if they deliver on their promises, definitely we'll have a good country. Law and order, like President's Council Maithri Gunaratne told, there is certain law and order taking place. People have little fear. Then police are doing whatever they can do their best to apprehend people, but still murders are taking place. I mean, see the amount of weapons that are available in the market. Even a knife. See how many days they are taking to apprehend them. But it's happening. We are not saying it's not happening. The northern people are happy that President is coming and given a warm welcome. But yesterday, did you see in London how the LTT people protested? So there is this international protest is still happening. So there are certain things that they also expect. So we have spoken about the 13th Amendment. Now, at least deliver what they are told, deliver. The Tamil people are not aliens, they are our brothers. We have been working together, studying together, living together. I mean, don't make that what the previous government did to make them feel, not wanted. Bring so many opportunities they have to bring the people together. So I don't want to talk about the things what they said prior to the election, how they are going to get billions of dollars, what Telvin Silva told, what Nalin Jajis told, how the Vitska is going to come, how the rice is going to come, how they are going to do it without giving the private sector. I think even the salt, if tomorrow salt is not given to the private sector to be imported, definitely there will be a huge shortage, not years to come. This month itself. Immediately, this month itself in February. I mean, this government cannot do it. This government cannot bring in the salt from another country, from India. That's a I don't know what to say about it. But salt, they think that salt can be manufactured if there is 1 month or 2 months or 3 months of rain. You need a year after pumping water for you to get certain amount of salt according to the capacity of the salt turn. A year, 365 days. So we don't have the same weather as Tuticorin or India, or we don't have underground salt like in Punjab or Hyderabad or in North India.
Himalayan salt.
In Himalayan salt. So similarly, the reality is there for us to see. So basically, we are there to support the government, but we will definitely win the local government because we don't want people to get deceived. The lies are enough lies that we have heard, but we want people to enjoy at least from the taxes the local government collects. We want transparency is good, accountability is better. When there's two governments in the one present government, checks and balances. Local government is among the opposition. It's good because the people can't cheat. Then if there's law and order, time to come if they bring legislature to change to recover the money as well as to prevent stealing, well and good. Then this country will prosper. Otherwise, very sorry, like President's Council Maithri Gunaratne said, thanks. I mean,
one thing about Chaturanga, I'm against this not eating pulsambol.
That he doesn't have the. I don't think he knows too.
I need it almost all 3 meals.
He didn't mean to say
Fair by him, we shouldn't talk about him.
He didn't mean to say that. He's a private sector guy who doesn't know to.
In the last Face the Nation, he clarified that
Yeah.
It was kind of an edited video.
Okay.
No,
Not the-
although he said not to eat balsam ball, but that's not what he meant. The balsam ball is there for us to enjoy, but not to
Thank you
waste the
very much.
remnants of the balsam.
Thank you very much, Mr. Neomal Perera from the Samagi Janabalavegia. We finally move our attention to Prashan De Visser from the NDF. Prashan, you've been advocating for political change in Sri Lanka. You said that you are in this for the long shot. What are the odds like for Sri Lanka to succeed?
I truly believe that our people are resilient. We've been through more than most countries have, from tsunamis to civil wars to terror attacks to pandemics and economic collapses. But our people are still resilient. They're not giving up. And that's our hope. And even though we've had massive brain drain compared to other countries, those who have stayed behind have stood up and delivered. And even those who've left haven't totally forgotten about the country, are looking for an opportunity to come back and serve. So I feel we have an opportunity here and to transform this country and ensure that our children receive a developed nation, a thriving nation, a just and fair nation for all communities, all religions, all ethnicities. It can be done, but time is ticking. And we can't afford more political theatrics. We can't afford more lies and exaggerations and be fooled by it. We want results. And for too long, Sri Lanka's population saw exaggeration, saw lies, saw corruption, and turned the other way and said what to do. And we've let it go on for years and years, and then it just, wait, we're in debt for $120 billion all of a sudden. And so we can't allow to let things slide anymore. Everything. So if someone may say, well, are we being too critical about the administration? No, we're at a critical juncture in the history of our nation, and every day and every month counts. Because we can't go bankrupt again. Our people can't suffer like this anymore. That's why they had went. So I would tell the administration that, you know, sometimes there seems to be this territorial, very offended by criticism, very, you know, how dare you say this to us? We are trying to do this. Even on social media, you could see the loyal fans just like this absolute vitriol against somebody who's just asking critical questions. Critical thinking is crucial for us to make the right decisions in a nation that's made many false steps in the past. So be open to critical thinking, be open to that questioning, and work alongside people who may not be from your party lines, may not come from the same camaraderie, but still have the same interests of the nation in mind. If we can do that, Sri Lanka can thrive and prosper. And we want to play a role in that. I believe there's a new generation of politicians and young people across this country who really want to serve, who are competent. They don't belong to political families. They are not people of great wealth. But they're people competent who want to deliver, who are honest. And hopefully, Sri Lanka's populace will start electing people like that as well. And that will be another crucial moment in Sri Lanka's resurgence.
Game changer.
Yeah.
It will be a game changer.
That's the plan.
Thank you very much, Prashan De Visser from the NDF. And that wraps up Face the Nation tonight. Thank you very much to all our guests for accepting our invitation and coming on board the show despite your busy schedules. Thank you very much to our journalists, Shihara Nees and Naveksha Gunasekara, for asking all the right questions. Thank you very much to our viewers out there for tuning in to another episode of Face the Nation. Until we meet again, take care and God bless.